Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Happy Wednesday, is it?
Yep.
Wednesday today.
I'm really
Halfway through the
confused.
week. Wow.
Yep. It feels like a Monday still.
Yeah, it does.
It's gone too fast.
It's been one of those weeks where I haven't had like 10 minutes to just breathe.
No.
Thank God I've had a nice flow of coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to schedule in your breathing time into your calendar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do. But we love this time. It's our favorite time of the day, the bingeability show, helping you to create more bingeable content so that you can stay more consistent and get more predictability in terms of leads and sales coming in. Content is by far the best thing that we've ever discovered as a way to promote our business because it's free. You can ramp stuff up. You can, fine tune it. You get data from it. That's the great thing since launching this show a few weeks ago. We've uncovered like certain talking points that we didn't know was going to get engagement and traction. And we've had questions and topics that we cover that people are more interested in than we initially expected. And it all comes from being prepared to put content out there and seeing what lands and seeing what doesn't.
My favorite part of content is the fact that you learn how to communicate your knowledge in the best way. And you know that actually the way I said that didn't really resonate. And I need to make it cleaner. I need to make it simpler. I need to make it more entertaining, more accessible. And you just learn how to communicate your knowledge. And actually your knowledge expands through doing that process as well. So if you sit down and create content, anyone that's created a book will probably know this, that you put things in the book that you didn't actually know because you had to do that research, you had to do that learning. And so content creation is a great way of expanding your own knowledge as well, which is why I hate the thought of it being outsourced to AI because I just don't think then no one will learn anything. No one will know anything. Which is quite frightening, really, that we'll just outsource our brains to AI. And
exactly. Part of the reason we're doing live streaming is because it's the one thing that people can't do with AI.
No, we are. I can tell you that we are real. Yes. Would AI be able to do this? Probably, yeah. But not randomly.
Yeah.
Should we do that like just midway through every single show just to prove it?
Random things, yeah. Moving your arms up and down to make sure that there's no glitches.
Yeah.
Or showing your
hands. I have 10 fingers. I don't have 12.
or feet and toes as hands, like we've seen in those original AI images.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one of the things that people buy into. They buy into you. They buy into your quirks, your personality, your likes, your dislikes. They buy into humans. And that's the one thing that we're really trying to encourage people to be aware of. Yes, use AI to speed things up, do the boring stuff, but you are not replaceable. You really aren't. If you want to grow your business, grow your personal brand, and create more content that leads to sales, then you have to be the person that's putting content out there. Yep. The one thing that our most successful clients have not been able to replace is showing up. We talk about all the time, people like Alex Hormozi is still doing 20 to 25 hours a week worth of content because he knows that's the biggest lever he can pull. Everything else could be maybe distributed to someone else, but getting in front of the camera, putting yourself out there is so important and so effective because it's quite difficult for people to do. So you automatically cut out all of the people that aren't serious, that are trying to compete for your customers. You show up, you put out a few videos here and there, and maybe you go live in the future and you can massively dominate your market. You really can.
Yeah. And it brings us nicely onto this today's show, which is all about AI and stopping using AI to start with. So there was this really interesting article in Business Insider basically talking about how 41% of LinkedIn, that's 41% of LinkedIn posts are AI generated. And this was a research study done by Pangram. So that's a huge amount. And I don't actually think you can blame people for that because LinkedIn were pushing that for a long time. They're like, do you want to use AI? Use AI. Do you rewrite this post? Use AI. So they were really encouraging it. But what was really interesting was someone like Steven Bartlett had noticed that his content, if any of it used AI, it didn't perform as well. So he's completely stopped using AI for any of his LinkedIn content, and even so far as leaving in spelling mistakes just to kind of prove that a human's written it, which is quite frightening. And I have actually seen this advice, not from Steven Bartlett, but I've seen advice where people have said, pop in the odd spelling mistake or do this and do that. And it's like, why don't you just write from scratch? Why don't you just write as a human than doing all of these things? Surely it's just as fast just to write from you as a human. But yeah, I found it quite interesting that we can easily detect AI. And yes, you could say, I can put out content and it can be AI generated and people don't notice. But if you're not a professional copywriter and, or even a writer, you potentially could fall in the trap of using AI. Other people can notice, and maybe you don't think it's noticeable, but it is. And I think that's quite a common thing. So yeah, I'd always recommend that people kind of write from the heart first.
Yeah, on the face of it, when it comes to platforms like LinkedIn specifically, it's very, very text driven. And with text, and even with the images that we're seeing generated right now, it is so obvious to people, especially if they are a little bit more intellectual, which I assume people on LinkedIn would be classed as a little bit more knowledgeable. They'll be able to see through any AI tells. So things like the M dash is a perfect example of something that nobody would have ever questioned before 2022. Now everybody sees an M dash and they're like, oh, this has been written through AI, even if it hasn't. You've got people actively using these social platforms that are looking whether or not you have used AI. It's not even a decision that they make. They don't open their laptop and think, right, let me go and find AI. But the second that they see an M dash or the second they see certain word patterns or certain sentence structures, it jumps out of them like a beacon. And it's like AI was used during this. And even if you've put in your own thoughts and you've hit the keyboard, but you've used AI to flesh it out a little bit more, people can tell.
Yeah. And I think even if what you're saying, and like Mike said, if you've put in your own thoughts and you've put in your own knowledge and experience and even your own stories, if sometimes it follows that pattern that people can easily see that's AI, some, things like, it's not this, it's not that, it's this, and, they used to be good writing techniques, the power of three, but they've kind of just been overused so much now by AI that you instantly recognize it and you kind of don't trust it anymore. So even if what you're saying is good, the way that your words come across, if you're using AI, it can be quite damaging, and people can just not look at it, not listen to it, just completely shut down. So I think it's better to be completely imperfect, right, from you and your human brain. Keep your human brain like ticking along. It's like my grandma still does crossword puzzles, and it's like the same thing. We want our brains still functioning, so let's not try and outsource everything to AI. But I think that every post I've written from scratch is always done tons better. Even when I put it through AI and I've been like, how would you improve this? It always makes it sound a little bit more sterile and just not human.
And the other thing, and we mentioned Steven Bartlett as a way of he loves to test these things, but recently he announced that all of the content that he puts out that's more personal performs way higher than anything business related. So even because obviously this article is about Steven Bartlett's leaving in deliberate spelling mistakes now. So he's gone completely the other way, which is not only do I not want business content all the time, but I also want imperfect content all the time. He just wants to be more human. And I think that's what I'm seeing, is that content creators who get it, who are seeing maybe a decline in the amount of impressions and reach that they're getting on social platforms, they're making sure that their content does stand out from the crowd, and that does leave spelling mistakes, certain errors, certain personal stories in there. Make it look like a little bit more of a scrapbook rather than a kind of well-structured, well-organized set of intellectual property. That's not what social media was ever intended for.
Do you know, it's really interesting that you say that, like, make it like a scrapbook. The best performing LinkedIn posts I do are always on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I can't edit, because I'm a millennial and I can't do anything on a phone like like edit a long LinkedIn post. But the best ones are ones I've literally typed out on a phone, and I'm like, I can't be bothered editing this to an extreme point. So I just let it go, and they always perform so much better.
I don't think you have Grammarly on your phone, do you?
No, I don't have Grammarly on my phone either.
So
it's not good for a dyslexic person.
You're dyslexic and don't use Grammarly, and your LinkedIn will perform better.
Use your phone so you can't overly edit.
But this is what you see on places like TikTok for the younger generation, is that people are not even using capital letters now, are they? It's just completely just like super casual, super just raw. And
I think I'm just getting old because I'm like, where's the capitalization in these sentences?
I know. I'm like, where's a comma supposed to go again? Yeah, Gen Zers don't understand what a comma is, or don't care about using one, and that's fine.
Our English teachers will not be happy.
No.
But yeah, I think just the more imperfection, but not purposeful, contrived imperfection, more just coming from you and not worrying too much about how it sounds or how clever it sounds or anything like that, I think is far better. It's annoying, but yeah, it is the way it is.
But this leads us on to the next point that we want to talk about.
Yeah, really, really exciting article. This was from Marketing Week, and I love this article. It was essentially about the use of humor, and we, as the society, apparently are losing our sense of humor. So the use of humor in ads has actually gone down from 53% to 34% from 2000 to 2024. It's quite a big decrease. And what's driving that decrease is mainly B2B. We're becoming quite boring and quite fearful of using humor in our content, in our ads, in our branding and things like that. And humor is one of the most powerful things that you can use in order to cut across from everything else out there. I think you remember a teacher from school, don't you, that always used humor. And it's funny, if you think back to school and the teachers that were funny in their lessons, you remember what they said, you remember the things that they taught you because they used humor. And it's exactly the same for your brand. If you can use humor in your content, in your ads, people will remember you over your competition. So it's such a powerful tool to use. I'm not really sure why we're not using it more, because it seems so simple.
Yeah, especially when you think about what we've just been saying. The more human your content is, the better it's going to be. The fact that you speak on stages and you're interviewed on podcasts and you're laughing and joking and you're cracking jokes, that's what makes things more real. That's normal. If I go out and I go for a barbecue or I go and meet friends, jokes are happening without any effort.
Yeah.
The second that you open your laptop and start publishing content, everything dries up. And it's it's not normal.
No.
This is why we always try to encourage people to adopt a certain type of energy when creating content, whether it's written content, whether it's content on videos. We like to call this barstool energy. So if you've never heard that phrase before, barstool energy is the same way that I would speak to you at a bar after work, after, an event. We sat at a bar together and I'm just going to talk to you like a normal human. I'm going to say things like, oh, this really wound me up. Or I can't believe he said this on stage. It's just so conversational. The second that you get on LinkedIn, it's I am very happy to announce that we were recently awarded. I'm just like, oh my God, we just won an award. I never would have expected this to happen. Just change the way that you speak to make it more human. I can't believe we're actually saying that. But even more important now, because of AI, this is meaning that you have, again, this very small window of time where AI cannot really do a good job of having humor, not great at delivering things in a more natural way. The people who are doing that on platforms like LinkedIn, on platforms like TikTok, they're winning.
Yeah.
But humor has always been something you've spoken about.
Yes. Yeah. Content. But I think people don't like, or not that they don't like using humor. I think people are frightened of using humor. And what they're frightened of is the joke either causing offense or not landing, people not finding it funny. For the latter, if you fear people not finding it funny, I always say to people, there are people out there that watch Mrs. Brown's Boys and find it funny. So, so don't worry. It's fine. Everybody has different senses of humor. Some people will find it funny, other people won't, and that's okay. There's many different types of comedy out there. Personally, I don't get Mrs. Brown's Boys at all, but a lot of people find it funny. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But the offense thing, I think, is something that is a deeper fear that people have. You know, if I use comedy, will I cause offense? And a great example of this was actually from Burger King, who tweeted on International Women's Day. I can't remember what year it was, probably 2021, 2022. And they tweeted to say, women belong in the kitchen. That was the first tweet.
What a bold move.
Oh, what a bold move from Burger King. And then the second tweet said, if they want to, of course. 20%, only 20% of chefs are women. And then it went on to say how they were going to be promoting more chefs.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But the funny thing is, I remember that over anything on International Women's Day, the fact that only 20% of chefs are women. And
so was it successful then? Would you say it was a successful ad? It was very heavily criticized.
It was heavily criticized, but I would say, yeah, I would say it was successful because I remember that. And I remember thinking, I can't believe it's only 20% of women that are chefs, and it should be more. And it's good they are doing more about it. Now, you can argue that the way that they went about that was not the best, especially on International Women's Day. And I understand the argument. However, I do think that the way that they did it highlighted a particular problem in that industry, and it brought attention to it. So it's obviously a fine line to kind of balance. And there was a lot of back and forth debate over it. It wasn't a sense of Burger King is 100% wrong and everyone thought that. There was kind of a pro and con, you know, people pro it and people against it. But I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing that they did, because I think out of everything I've seen, that's the one that stuck. And I remember the stat 20% in my head when I saw it. So it's an interesting one, definitely.
But the other thing is, you don't necessarily want to adopt an entirely like comical brand, because that can go the other way. Mm-hmm. So you will probably have seen companies like Ryanair, who have just completely changed their identity as kind of sarcastic brand, which falls in line with who they are and what they want to put out. But you've seen companies like Aldi adopt a funny brand where they're going after Marks and Spencers. They've got their
they always talk about legal, don't they? They always like, we've got a message from meeting with legal team again.
Yeah. So corporations have to stand out in some way, shape, or form. But realistically, if you're a content creator and you're just trying to stand out, you don't have to adopt a persona. Yeah. You do have to use humor within your marketing in order to make your point more memorable. You know, we would never go on stage and speak in front of 200 people without having some humor in there, because that's what makes people connect. That's what makes you memorable. There's nothing worse than going into a presentation or watching a video where there's no personality. Yeah. And in general, we always talk about the fact that ever since we went on our first date, we've always had this baseline of like sarcasm and humor. Yeah. And I think that comes through in our content.
Well, it's a sign, humor is a sign of intelligence. And there's many studies that show that women are more attracted to men when they're funny. So you must be a funny guy. But
either that or I look funny.
But it is true. Humor is a sign of intelligence, and people trust intelligent people. So it is definitely worth thinking about and worth the risk. And in fact, in that article there, it was ads that are funny are 5 times more likely to get sales than ads that aren't.
Wow.
And that actually proved, because Martin did an ad for Vidonary where he used a rooster. Yeah. As a microphone. Now, this isn't like the most hilarious joke in the world. Sorry, mine. But it is.
It's called Mike because he holds my microphone when I'm holding it.
There we go. It's called Mike. But you used a rooster as a microphone, and you said something like, what was the first line?
Don't be a chicken.
Don't be a chicken.
Creating content.
And that ad, as simple as that joke is, again, apologies for offending your jokes here, but that ad performed, it got double the sales of any other ads that you did that weren't funny.
Yeah.
And that to me is bonkers, because it's not offensive humor. It's very much a dad joke. And it's not a massive, you're not trying to be a comedian there. It's just a little pun that you put in. But the fact that it performed that much better than any other ad tells you something.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that, and on that as well, all the emojis with that laughing, crying, laughing face that people put, and it got the most comments, it got the most engagement. Using humor is just a shortcut, I think, to becoming memorable.
And there is a temptation to try to be funny in every single piece of content. And that's not what we're saying.
No.
You don't want to be that comedy brand. You want to get your point across in a way that feels natural. And humor naturally would come out. If you were to go out for a drink with your friends or go and spend the day, going for a walk, humor would naturally come out. So all we're trying to do is make it more conversational, giving it that barstool energy that we've been speaking about. Humor would naturally take place like it did the first time that me and Lindsay met, or you probably met your friends and stuff. There's a sarcasm, there is a humor, there is a, oh my God, I just laughed at this reel. We're constantly sending each other funny reels. So why not be one of those reels? Why not have something in there that allows people to connect with you on another level? Now, the reason that we're even talking about this is baffling because of the success. But there's businesses out there who I know, and I just think sometimes they come across so stale because all they're trying to do is manage their reputation. Yeah. And it's this reputation trap where people are like, oh, we have to speak. Like, I can't put out content. And if I do put out content, it looks structured in a way like it's taken 45 minutes to write 5 lines of text. And it's because it doesn't flow the way that you speak. People aren't writing how they speak, because if they did, it would naturally come across as humorous and funny.
And I think with B2B as well, there's this misconception that you need to be professional. You need to be, the target audience is professionals, but they are just people like you and me. And they respond to humor just as much as a B2C person, person would. So I think that is a big misconception that people have when it comes to creating humor in their content. They feel like, well, it's a professional audience, so my content must be professional. Well, yes and no. I mean, the value that you give can be professional, the product can be good, and everything else around it, but that doesn't mean that you just have to have stale content. So yeah, and I think a lot of people ask as well, how do I use humor? And there's a few ways that we kind of use humor in our marketing. One is to make fun of your customers.
In a nice way.
Just make fun of them. Yeah, in a nice way. So we tend to do this kind of every April Fools. We did this last April Fools, where we posted a carousel, and it's our best performing post on Vidonary's Instagram. And it basically says, if you want to make a video that goes viral, the best way to make a video, follow these steps. And it was things like, make sure you spend $5,000 on a camera, make sure that you really study the way that you blink in your video, because that's really important. Make sure you think about what you're doing with your hands. We don't know what we're doing with our hands, but think more about your hands as you're recording, just things like that. And then people could laugh at themselves. People like, oh my God, I ticked off every single one of these in this list. And it's lightly making fun of your audience for the things that they do. So that's kind of one way that you can use humor. Obviously, that's a very light version. Ryanair is like on the extreme other end of taking the piss out of their customers, abusing their customers. Not personally something I like, but a lot of people do. So, it works for them. I think they're doing pretty well out of it. So that's something. Another one is to make fun of your industry. I would love to see an estate agent come out and take the piss out of other estate agents, just like the cars that they drive, and then being like, oh yeah, I'm going to pick up your call, and then just the phone ringing, no one picking it up. I would love that. And that would make me trust them so much more. If an estate agent came out and just took the mick out of their own industry, that would be amazing, I think.
They turn up with a suit on to like a rundown property that is like
and they go, this is a doer-upper.
Yes.
It's literally falling down.
Walking into the smallest house in Britain and say, this is it's very comfortable,
cozy.
Exactly.
Just put your hard hat on when you come in.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that, you know, we've done this for a long time, this kind of take the mick out of your industry, but it's because they make it so easy.
I know. If you're in an industry that isn't trustworthy, estate agent, SEO,
insurance,
car sales, insurance, any of that, you're in a gold mine of taking the mick out of your industry peers to stand out.
So that's another way.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then being relatable. So one of my favorite ads I ever saw, and it made me buy life insurance, was it said, if you had a crush on any of these people, then it's time for life insurance. And it was just like people that I like. Leonardo DiCaprio from Titanic was on there. I can't remember what else. There was like a girl one and a boy one. So there was Buffy the Vampire Slayer on there, Sarah Michelle Gellar, the actress that plays her, and stuff like that. And obviously you realize then you're old. So, I was like, oh, okay, I'm that old now that I had a crush on some of those people. So I need to get life insurance. And it's that relatable comedy, I think, that people can identify with and make them laugh. And it's usually very playful. It's usually very tame. And it just works.
Yeah. But honestly, like when we take the piss out of ourselves, it's the easiest, fastest way.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, I was so stupid, or I messed up. Like, people love that because it feels vulnerable, but also you can get in there with some stories. I always tell the story about how there was this one time where I was going meeting a client face to face, and I walked in and I knew this client for such a long time. We got really friendly, and they were like a family member, I suppose. And I went in this one day, and for some reason she went for a hug, and I was like, oh, we're at that level where my clients are hugging me. That's nice. So I gave her a hug until I realized that she was actually trying to close the door behind me. So I ended up hugging this client. She was literally leaning to close the door, and
I would have died.
I basically did a little bit. And then it's like, well, what do you do the next time? Now, is she going to expect a hug?
What did she say when you started hugging her?
She was just like, I moved out of the way, and then she went in to close the door, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. So the fact that I've said that now and told you, maybe you'll remember how weird I am. I don't know, but
really, really awkward.
It is really awkward, and that's not the only time stuff like that's happened.
No, it's not.
But I'm going to go out of my way to bring it up because that's the kind of stuff that happened. It was real. It's not manufactured. It doesn't change my entire brand, but it's more honest and vulnerable and maybe more memorable. So it does work. You've got to be prepared to fall on the sword sometimes. But especially if you're in the B2B space, it's the single best way for people to see you as a person and to want to, get to know you, work with you, maybe give you a hug in the future.
You'll get a hug one of these days.
Anyway. Okay, perfect. So we're at time. As always, we always share a hook of the day. So we've got a great hook for you today. And it's this. I don't know what's going on, but, okay? The reason that works is because it feels so in the moment. It feels so natural. I don't know what the hell is going on, but have you noticed that LinkedIn at the moment just looks like a bunch of AI speaking to one another? Like that's a good way for you to get your point across. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know what the hell's going on, but no one's funny anymore.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but every time I go to the gym, I feel like people are just like robots. Like, what happened to just like getting to know people at the gym? Like, whatever your niche is, that would work. It's a really, really powerful one because it feels so authentic. I don't know what's going on, but I've just left my house and this happened. It feels so in the moment. It feels so natural, and you can even be funny using it. So it makes the perfect hook of the day. If you've not watched the other previous episodes, we share a hook on the end of every single session, and we'll be sharing another one tomorrow. Same time, same place on the Bingeability Show. See you there.
Thanks. See you tomorrow. Bye.
You didn't have a hook for the day, did you?
No, just looking for it. I was like, shit. Have you turned that off?